Hello and welcome to the Cameron Sadeghi Show. I am your host, Cameron Sadeghi, here, as we had a great, a superb Week 12 of the NFL. Yes, we even had pigeons in Cleveland and sprinklers in Miami. I'll talk about that in a little bit later in the show, but first, like we always do, we're going to go over the scores. I'm going to give you my opinion on some of the games that occurred today. And also in the program, I want to get your thoughts on what occurred in today's action as well. Let's start with the games today in Chicago. They finally have Cutler back. The Bears square off against their NFC North foe, the Minnesota Vikings. They dominate at Soldier Field 28-10. Cincinnati and Oakland. Carson Palmer reunion again. Yet, his old team was better than his current team. 34-10 Bengals. Cleveland and Pittsburgh. What if I told you that the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to turn over the football 8 times today? What would you be? What would you have said? They're going to lose. They're going to lose, obviously, the Cleveland Browns, and yes, they do. 20-14 in Cleveland, Ohio. Another game, Indianapolis, Buffalo, Colts. They are in, if the playoffs were to end today, they would be in it in the wild card. They squared off against the AFC East Buffalo Bills, who have been struggling recently. Buffalo loses 20-13. Jacksonville and Tennessee. Two teams that haven't had solid years. Doesn't matter. Well, for Jacksonville, they win in the battle of some may call it the battle of the losers. 24-19 in the Sunshine State. Denver and Kansas City, a very interesting game. AFC West rivalry, rather. They squared off. People said Denver's going to run away with this. Denver struggled in the first half, but they have that guy at quarterback, Peyton Manning, who finds a way to win again. 17-9 this time at Arrowhead. Miami and Seattle. A game where a lot of people thought Seattle could have come out with a strong victory today, but they may have underestimated the Dolphins. They lose 24-21, and yes, in this football game, there were sprinklers that were out that came in the middle of the third quarter. Very stunning. Some announcers, Chris Myers and Tim Ryan of Fox NFL, said they have never seen anything like this. Scott Hansen added the same thing in the broadcast for NFL Red Zone. Atlanta and Tampa Bay, an AFC South battle there, very tightly contested. Atlanta wins on the road. And oh yes, the game that I know there's a guy out there that doesn't want me to talk about it, but look, I talk about all the overtime games. There's a dude on Twitter who doesn't like it. His name is at Noser83. But yes, I will talk about this game. Not for long, don't worry. Chargers. The San Diego Chargers lose again, leading 13-3 in the fourth quarter. Oh yes, let me just remind you, everybody, 13-3, 10 unanswered points for the Ravens. They go into overtime, and Chris Tucker nails a 34-yarder in San Diego to slide by the Bolts. Now, San Diego, they gave up a critical 4th and 29 to Ray Rice off of a dump-off pass. I'll explain that later on in the show. Also, the last game, two more games to go. The Rams and the Cardinals NFC West matchup. Rams win easily. John Lindley, the quarterback for Arizona, the rookie and the backup, struggled mightily today with a pick six that was critical in today's ball game. Another key game, the last one that we will give you the score. The San Francisco 49ers with their new quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, their new starter, 31-21, gliding in the Superdome, are the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, I want your thoughts to be on the program. You can either tweet me at SM_Cameron. You can comment on the little green bubble that you might see near the play button. You can give me your comments there, or you can call 949-456-2911, 949-456-2911. Alright, I got at Noser83 saying thanks for the shout out, you're welcome. But man, hey, I talk about all the overtime games, so I know, some of you might say, oh, Chargers this, Chargers that. I hate when we have to listen to Chargers analysis, but it's just amazing that, look, today, it just stuns me how an NFL team is up 13-3 with about 6 minutes to go, and they can't close it out. And they give up a 4th and 29 on a dump-off pass. Look, Ray Rice showed a lot of heart, but on a dump-off pass, there were way too many broken tackles. An NFL team never does that. I don't care if the Cleveland Browns, that's different. But, come on, Chargers. You gotta be kidding me. Norv Turner is on the hot seat once again, like he's been through this entire season. I say sadly he should go, but we'll see what San Diego does in the after this season. All right, let's move on to the early session. The game, yeah, I know it was a blowout, but I still want to discuss it. Discuss it. Okay, it was between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. Now, a lot of you may say, well, this game wasn't close. I understand what you are saying. But you have to, if you looked at this game, and in the beginning, okay, yeah, in the first quarter, okay, 10-3, the Chicago Bears just flat out dominated in the second quarter. 15-0. That is stunning. Absolutely stunning by the Chicago Bears. And with Cutler back, at home, Soldier Field, everyone excited. Yes, Cutler did throw an interception, but that running game was great, even though Forte was out of the game. Hester got knocked out with a concussion. Their defense, again, look, this team proves again and again and again and again that they can go to the Super Bowl. They're a Super Bowl contender. I think that this team kind of reminds me a little bit of the 2010 Chicago Bears because the defense is stout, that running game with Forte, and Cutler is healthy. Well, currently right now he's back into the thick of things. Chicago, let me say this though, it is necessary for Chicago to get home field advantage. I mean, if it's possible, they've got to win out. I know that's crazy to say, but Atlanta just won't let up, and I'm stunned that Atlanta won today. You have San Francisco that's on a roll. You have so many quality NFC teams. If Chicago wins out and hopes that Atlanta loses a few more games, and hopes for San Francisco to lose a few more games, and they slide into that number one spot, let me tell you, the playoff, they will go to the NFC Championship. The Chicago Bears, I'm not sure if Chicago can make it in the NFC Championship if they go on the road and they face, a team like San Francisco. If they face a team like, let's say, Atlanta on the road. I mean, maybe, I think they can beat Atlanta on the road, but if they face San Francisco on the road, I don't think so. Okay, I think they have to. They have to get home field advantage. It's almost vital, like, at this point. And some of you might say, well, when they're getting close near to the end of the season, they can kind of lay off and let it go, but get their guys healthy, but you gotta fight for that home field advantage right now. Because, let me tell you, I think San Francisco might rest their starters. I think Atlanta might. So, if you have that opportunity, especially in the NFC where it's just, the competition for the NFC is absolutely amazing. Usually people will say the AFC is loaded, right? We've been so accustomed to that. But, my God, it seems like even, teams that, I'm going to look at this playoff picture right now. In the hunt, excuse me for the voice crack, in the hunt, the Buccaneers, everybody. The Buccaneers. And they're 6-5. To me, they should be in the wild card already. Alright, I mean, there's so much talent in the NFC right now. It's great. It's great. But getting back to the game now, Minnesota. It's so unfortunate how Minnesota really did a poor job and kind of careless with the football. And I look at this and look, Peterson fumbled, Ponder threw an interception. You can't do that against the... And I know that sounds obvious. Well, you can't turn it over against any NFL team. That's true. But this team is not one of those teams where you can easily come back. Chicago scores off of every turnover, basically. I mean, I haven't seen where they haven't, to be honest. Every time I see them get a turnover, next thing you know, bam. Easy. Touchdown. Or field goal. So you cannot... I mean, you got to be turnover free against the Bears to have a shot. Minnesota, I don't think they're making the playoffs. Their schedule is too hard for such a young squad. I really was impressed by them. Hey, if they make the playoffs, you can come back and say, what were you thinking, Cameron? I'm fine with that. I'll admit here on the show that I was wrong if they make the playoffs. But I'm assuming I'm going to be right here. Usually, I mean, my predictions aren't always right, as you've seen in the past. I mean, my predictions aren't always the best, but I think it's fair to go out there and say that the Minnesota Vikings really, Christian Ponder has kind of been really inconsistent. He hasn't been playing that turnover-free football in the early weeks, and it's due to the strength of the opponent. That's what it's basically been. And then surprisingly, with the Peterson fumble, just not there today. And unfortunately, I don't think they're making the playoffs. Alright, let's move on to the other game I wanted to discuss between, oh yes, A team